Hey everyone, it's time for another walkthrough, this time of The Death of My Song, which is the final one from the Poison Act one, and it's a very emotional one. I'm a bit nervous about this one, I'm a bit uncomfortable, but I also feel very excited to talk about the instrumentation behind it and just how it produced it. And it's mixed by Michael Yang again, just like the other two songs, except this one is sung not by Megan Simpson, but this one is sung by Angelina. She's known as Red Luna, and she nailed it. Her voice fit this song quite perfectly, and I'll show you in a bit. So here we are in the project of The Death of My Song. Let's just start at the intro. A lot of this intro is very minimal. It's mostly built around the piano here, which is Worcester. That is kind of the main layer. You can hear it's very soft, very nice, very felty. And then there's Noir Pure, which adds some more clarity to the overall sound. Without Noir Pure, so they complement each other extremely well here. And I tried out quite a few combinations. This worked really well, and that's also necessary because it's just very minimal. We have a harp reverse pad that's very subtle in the background. And this is also kind of a reference to what's to come in the Poison Act 2, because there's a lot of reverse kind of things there. So this is a cool little foreshadowing. I think it's a really cool sound. This is just harp dancing sounds and then just reverse that with lots of reverb on it. And there's so much flexibility with that. Also transposed it down, but that's because I changed up the song to fit Angelina's range better. The typical things. And there's a high violin throw note that's going on quite long, which on normal strings doesn't sound as great, but here they have a bit of movement because they're on cells. Very solid though. In the final mix, it's a bit more obvious. Yeah, so that's the intro. Hear that violin. And then the vocals come in, which has the same instrumentation. There's no layer that remains when all there is are my flaws. Are we still saying the same? That I'm the absence of light and only write about pain because the sun doesn't shine where I live, the poison remains. So very introspective. Also the little nudge at where I live, the poison remains. It's also, this whole track is kind of meant to be closing this album while also not closing the whole story of the poison, because it's just act 1 and there's 2 more acts to come. So that's what I tried to do here with the lyrics, as well as the whole thing is very introspective and a bit like the feeling of defeat, which, acknowledging that, I think there's a lot of strength to find there. When life spins out of control and there's no air that remains, I wanted to also a little nudge to there's no air that remains, because the poison is about toxic air and like it's hard to breathe sometimes, which is more of a, okay, sorry, I couldn't come up with the word. It's more of a metaphor. So a lot of these things are metaphorical, and that's, I think, a lot of the beauty in lyrics writing comes from metaphors. I don't wanna hurry, but it feels like I do. You don't want me to be me, and I don't want to be you. So this part, I wanted this to be in falsetto, and Angelina has such a beautiful falsetto where it's really fragile and it's not like a typical perfect pop singer, and I think that makes it so much more characterful. As you can hear, like the I don't wanna hurry, but it feels like I do. You don't want me to be me, and I don't want to be you. Like if you listen to just the vocals, how great that sounds.
Feels like I do. You don't want me to be me, and I don't want to be you.
So it's a very nice balance between this kind of angelic voice as well as it having some fragility. Like, not sure if that's a word, but it feels very fragile in a sense, and I think that's just so nice in the context of this song. It took me really long. I looked at a lot of singers, and I was considering a lot of people before I reached out to Angelina. I'm really glad that I took the time for that because that was really, really big and important part of this song. But yeah, overall, this part, instrumentation wise, it's still introspective, but the piano gets more moving, which I played in, just like a very simple ARP kind of thing. Which I think is very nice. And then also having these chamber string swells, so these swell. And together that just sounds very, very emotional. So yeah, that's that. And there's the same harp pad going on as well. And then for the next part, this is where we get to the first chorus. I think it's the chorus. I'm not sure how structurally it works. It's just how I mean, I can name it whatever I want. So I'm gonna call it the chorus.
Is it all set in stone?
Okay, wait. I'm gonna show one more thing first. That there's something that I have going on here where I kind of have this reverb throw, which kind of makes it like the reverb go into the next part. It helps kind of blending that, and it's really nice to fill up that silence. This is a chamber waves thing where you have the tremolos on. So it's more tremolos, but it's also eaten a bit by the reverb that I threw on there. And then we get into the chorus. Now let's play it for real.
Is it all set in stone?
Going back to a lower range. It's all like stuff to create contrast and to tell a story.
Aren't you screaming the pain from your lungs? Somehow you were silent, but torture is wrong.
The uncomfortable part about this is, which is uncomfortable because at first you don't have any vocals and it's just you and the instrumentation. I kept it very sparse and minimal on my side, so the vocals had the space to shine, and I really took that concept to heart now with this one. This was the last song that I did from my album, well, from the Act 1 at least. And I learned quite a lot by doing these songs with Megan and doing some other songs that will be on The Poison Act 2 or maybe even 3, whatever makes sense. So there's a lot of cool synth stuff going on, but overall it's quite minimal. Also, Michael really helped make the bass sound a bit better in the mix. One thing I really like though is it's a very cool kind of dancing synth vibe. So I used the Stratus for Olaf Arnolds here with 2 different types of sounds. And then I used this higher sound that's made on Zebra on Simmer. Very subtle, dancing around, very beautiful. Which is just really nice to have. And then also with the shimmer sound that I have showcased in some other walkthroughs before. This is one of the sounds I did for my for the Poison. I made a bunch of custom sounds that I reused. And I used the lower register here just to create some movement. I like to do a lot of that bending movement in the background, which, as you can hear, really helps make the atmosphere behind the music a lot more interesting. And to me, that's a whole big magical world, as you've probably noticed.
Can it be undone? Or are all my actions death of my song. Why aren't you screaming?
Yeah, there's also some vocoders. I will go over those in a bit. Because I did those in Ableton, so I will show those at the end. Let's go to the next part. All right, sorry, I had to check something if the audio was still working. Here we have this part.
My courage has faded. Is it all just an act? I don't wanna be hated, but I cannot look past all of the anger and all the regret. Your voices are fading while my own wounds attack.
This one was really quite emotional for me to write, and I don't want to go too much into detail about the lyrics. I think it kind of speaks for its own on its own. What you notice is it's still similar to the first verse, but now I just added in more movement, which is just a great thing to do, and I did that by keeping those zebra arcs from the first chorus. And I really, really like how these sound. So yeah, that's a big one because it's quite obvious. And then we also have these heartbeats, which is just a kick and it sounds like this. And just that kick alone adds a lot of vibiness. And then these are the chords. They're a bit more open this time on the piano. And you can hear the vibes of the heartbeats. It just adds so much.
My courage has faded. Is it all just an act? I don't.
Yeah, so that's a big thing. And apart from that, it's still quite minimal here. Lots of space for the vocals to shine. And again, Angelina did a great job at this part. At the whole song, it's just, I really like how verse feels very vibey. And then we have another kind of pre-chorus. But this one is more orchestral. I'm showing you the instrumental right now. These strings don't come in anywhere else. And also the same for the choirs. Again, the reverb throw with the chamber strings. The thing is, these legato strings, they are quite a big contrast with the part before, and they had a lot of movement. They're still simple though in the nature. These are just basses, fifths, and the melody in octaves. And then there's also the choirs from chorus, Audio Imperia. And that in context sounds pretty nice.
I'm seeing blurry, and I feel like a fool. You don't want me to be me, so should I let you lose? Is it all set in
Another
stone?
chorus.
Can it be undone? Or are all my actions the death of my soul?
The thing about this chorus is I think I didn't change anything about it compared to the first chorus. And this again comes down to letting the vocals shine a bit more. Angelina did a bunch of cool and really nice harmonies here that really help it shine. I think I can show those here.
Can it be undone? Or
They are less
all
polished
my
here.
actions the death of my soul?
So, and also these like
Why aren't you
these kind of sounds. They're super nice, and that really helps it make this one feel bigger than before, and it was a great call. I'm really happy on how that turned out.
Is it all set in stone? Can it be undone?
And there's also the vocoder, as you noticed, which I'll show you later.
Silent, but torture is wrong.
The bridge, which this one is brutal.
Why did you hurt me? Why am I such a burden? Oh no.
So lots of different layers doing lots of different things. This one sounds so much better produced in the final mix version. So my demo mix project is gonna lack some of that. But what I can show you and what I will show you is something really cool about it. It's the sounds that I did, which are really fun. No, let's do all of them. Okay. Helicopter crashing down. And then that again. You might notice these. I took these sounds. Well, I recreated them on the spot, except for the helicopter sound, but I still reprocessed it on the spot from the Toxic Air. So I did the same type of sounds, but I reprocessed them just because I wanted to feel a little bit different and work in this song context. But they are obvious throwback to the intro. So it's really cool to have the very first intro song from the intro track from the album, and then the final song, also the final track from the album, and have those same sounds in there to kind of start this story and also close this story. Even though the Poison is not finished, it's kind of nice to have that. So that's the idea behind this, where you have this minor down, which is just this minor string thing that sounds like this, and then processed with lots of reverb and going down, and it's really cool. And another bendy sound that I added, and then this helicopter sound that's going from left to right, which I think is super fun. And then I also added a lot of dramatic atmosphere sounds. This is like, it's a lot of, this is from Grim. And what I did was I took this Grim sounds and I did a shaper box thing that LFOs between the left and the right. So the idea is it bends left, right, which had movement. And in context, that's pretty cool. Then there's these kind of more Brahm-like pads. Yeah, wait, this is more of the Brahm. And this is more like a pad. The Brahms are not really a pad. They're also not really Brahms, because Brahms would be a bit more aggressive. So this is just very reverby and pitched down a bit, just to create a nice atmosphere. Lots of sounds together and it creates this huge kind of sound. And then one thing I want to say about the vocals is I threw in a few layers for how it's going to sound. Michael did a few of his own things, and together we ended up with a very dynamic thing, because it repeats the same lyrics, but we wanted it to grow, and there's lots of cool vocal things that we did, like it getting distorted and like delays here and there, as you can hear.
Why did you hurt me? Why? Is it all set in stone? Can it be undone?
Super emotional, fragile version of the chorus.
The death of my soul.
And then full in.
Why aren't you screaming? The pain from your lungs. Somehow you were silent, but torture is wrong. Torture is wrong.
And this part is definitely my favorite part. I think the ending is also, we kept the ending like this to, I kept the ending like this to keep it more like the chapter is closed, but there's still more to be told. It's not like a definite finished thing. Like you feel like there's more to come. At least I hope that's what I'm evoking there. That's the purpose behind it for me, because we still have 2 more acts. And then this chorus is just, the first half is so small, and then you kind of expect that to stay small, and then it still gets bigger, and I think it's a pretty nice surprise to have that.
Why aren't you screaming?
And while this is in like its full power, it's not as in necessarily full power. It's in this context, it's pretty big sounding. but you can still hear there's a lot of electronic layers, and the vocoders are quite prominent here. So the way with how this is produced and also mixed, it creates this sense of choking, like this sense of you're still in that poisonous atmosphere with the toxic air and every stuff that's combined with that. You really hear that in the way that it's produced. It's not like Adele singing. It's like it's still fragile, and it always worked out. It just really worked out perfectly. Now I imagined it. It took a lot of time though, but it was definitely worth it. Instrumentation wise, we have just simple drums. Oh, pretty simple on its own, but leaves a lot of space. An interesting thing might be this. This is a leaf sound. Just the leaves crashing sound I got from Splice, and then I use that to kind of create some more room for the snare, if that makes sense. You can hear. And I think it's a really cool trick to do. And then just a simple drone. This is Adder drone. Adder is a sound effect I did for my serum thingy that I use on the poison. I've mentioned this thing a ton of times. Can we hear it? Yes. It's like a noisescapey sound. Made from me breathing into the mic. Kind of horror-like, but it just adds some atmosphere here. And then, yeah, just the same synths going on, shimmer going on, which, again, the shimmer name is kind of inspired by Arcane. The sound's unique, but also bending sounds are just really cool. A lot of dramatic music has that, and it's just a super easy way to create tension and a cinematic feeling. Just having bending sounds with lots of reverb. It's one of my favorite things ever. Yeah, that's kind of it for this whole song. Apart from the vocoders, so let's just go to Ableton and show those. We are in Ableton now, which is great because now we can showcase the vocoder stuff. So with this one, I picked up some new tricks along the way because as you write a lot of songs and get better, you learn new tricks. And what I did here is something really fun, which I'm gonna show you in a bit. I added a bass layer that make the vocoders sound pretty big. So I'm just gonna showcase just the vocoders, how they sound, which are these. And now with the dry vocals.
Are all my actions the death of my song?
Which I think is really cool, pretty huge sound. And yeah, the cool part about it is this, these bass layers, they sound like this on their own. And together with the dry vocals.
My actions, the death of
and I'm filling it up with everything. It's like this.
Why aren't you screaming the pain from your lungs?
And it's such a nice way to make a really full sound. I want to show you in context if I put on the demo instrumentation. This was the instrumental I had before I sent the ID to Angelina and before she sang it. So just to give you some idea on the difference that makes. So what I want to show is the vocoders make a really big difference if you add them. So these are just the instrumentation with the dry vocals.
Is it all set in stone? Can it be undone?
And now let's add the vocoders.
Are all my actions the death of my soul?
Now let's remove them again.
Why aren't you screaming the pain from your lungs?
Now add them again.
Somehow you were silent. The torture is wrong.
So they create this really huge sound with just the vocals. And well, it's technically it's a synth. It's just they feel so huge because it's a synth, but also they are great because you still hear the words. Like I think that's so cool about them. One thing that I did, this is the synth sound that I made for it. Whoa, and now it's gone. So here it is. I made pretty white detuned saws. If I didn't do that, I don't think I did. I did a little bit of effects. If I did just this, it wouldn't be as big. So let's check out the difference. Now let's do it again with the dry vocals.
Is it all set in stone? Can it be undone?
And now again.
Is it all set in stone?
So these are with the
Can
vocals,
it be
with the bigger
undone?
ones. And now also, if you add the bass, it just gets really huge. And that's, the bass is this one.
Is it all set in stone? Can it be undone? Or are all my actions the death of my song?
And then finally, what I do want to show is how I combined the melody from the, just like I did in the Bayern Wasteland. I did this.
Is it all set in stone?
So you have the melody from the
Is
vocals,
it all set in stone?
and then I also did that with the vocals.
Is it all set in stone?
So you have this, the melody line, and then you have the harmony underneath that. Also, I didn't fill up these harmonies as much, which gave it a bit more breathing room. I did them more filled up here, which is why the ending sounds like it does, which I think is also really nice. So right here they sound pretty rough, but in the context of the final mix that Michael did, it works pretty damn well. I'm just gonna showcase all of that together.
Why aren't you screaming? The pain from your lungs. Somehow you are silent, but torture is wrong.
So now what I did to create that contrast there was this is the right me. I just filled it up a little bit more. Not too much, but it's definitely noticeable and definitely adds a lot of feel to it. So you have this. And I still think it's a really nice kind of hybrid between those robot voices and between Angelina, her voice, which is just really nice.
Why aren't you screaming? The pain from your lungs.
That's it for the Poison Act 1. This is the final breakdown. This is the final walkthrough of my song. There will be maybe more in the future when we have the Poison Act 2. I'll probably do some breakdowns again. But that's still far away because that album still has to be written. Partially, I've done some stuff, but it's definitely not finished yet. And this album, The Poison Act 1, has been a crazy wild ride. And yeah, the death of my song is really the finale of this. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I really hope you are too. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna wish you an amazing rest of your year, because I don't think I'll do another walkthrough of The Poison this year, but I might do another walkthrough of something else. And I definitely will do some other video probably this year. It's just wishing you a nice year. There's never something wrong with wishing someone a nice year, right? Wishing you a great year. Bye.